see what we got next. Ooh, can't put this in a category because this is different.
Oh,
but
thing.
it's a really good movie. I'm gonna get both out too because there was a prequel that was made not that long ago.
Yeah, which they're both. I can't even decide which one's my favorite out of these two because they're both just exceptional.
You can watch them back to back and it'll be like one giant movie.
Yes, you have to make sure that you watch this one first. And as soon as this one ends, you begin this one, and they start where it left it off, basically.
My favorite kind of sequels.
I love when they do that. I really love when they do that.
The true sequel. Halloween, let me just throw that out there. Halloween 2, they did that as well.
We seem to have a lot of John Carpenters in here.
Yes, I'm noticing that trend.
He's just really good. I mean, he's good at making things movies that are just original. And scary. And
you notice when people remake it, it's not even close to being as good usually?
Not usually, but this one actually, which is weird because it's the producers of Dawn of the Dead, which is the newer version of the original, which I wasn't really impressed with them, honestly. So I'm surprised at how good they did with this one.
They went a really smart route. They were originally going to just remake The Thing, and they decided not to do that. They went with the prequel route.
See, okay,
which I appreciate because if something's perfect already, I don't think it needs to be remade.
Yeah, they decided they didn't want to muck it up. They actually kept pictures of the original set from the 80s version. They kept it on their set while they were doing everything because they wanted to make sure that everything was in place, everything was perfect, everything matched up. Yeah, scene by scene. I mean, there's a scene where there's an axe in the wall in the 80s version. Well, you find out how that got there in the prequel one. And it's in the exact same spot, well, it looks like it anyway, it's the exact same spot as where, it is in the Kurt Russell one, when they stumble across it and everything. And you find out how, the guy had lost his axe and everything. So, I mean, it's just so well done.
I appreciate attention to detail, and they went all out in this
They paid a lot of attention. They brought in, I believe it's Russian actors that they brought in, and they're foreigners, so I mean, they spoke their native language, and they have that really thick accent to them, and some of them really didn't speak English. And in the movie, of course, a lot of them don't speak English, they speak their native language. So I love how they actually stayed true to that because they, stumble across this other base that's foreign base, so it makes sense.
Speak their language.
This is another movie where they didn't use CGI all the time.
Yeah.
They used animatronics.
Are you talking about the prequel?
Both of them. Both of them.
This one, oh my goodness, the animatronic monsters in this, that's the only word you can really use to is monsters, are just... They're so gory and scary and just the sounds that they make.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I just can't believe.
And they matched it up with the creatures that were in the 80s version. Like in the 80s version, they had the two creatures that were like spliced together, the two heads and everything. Well, they showed how that happened in this one. How two of the characters that you'd watch throughout this prequel one, how they kind of, one was infected and melded into the other, and it was just gross, but I mean awesome at the same time because, you see how it happens and then they set him on fire, and that's how they find him in the Kurt Russell one, is they find him burnt to a crisp, basically, and they bring him back to the base, not knowing that it's an alien. They did such a good job with this movie, and this is, I think, one of my favorites, which is weird because growing up it wasn't, but getting older, you take an appreciation, and you rewatch stuff that you watched when you were younger that might have terrified you, or you didn't like at the time, and then you start, seeing these things that you think are really cool.
Right.
And I just really think that this is a perfect movie. It's just an awesome movie. And then Kurt Russell, I love that he was in it. And actually, fun fact, in the beginning when he's playing chess on the computer, the voice is a woman's voice that's, talking back to him because he's playing chess with it, is, I believe, Adrienne Barbeau's voice, who was married to John Carpenter at the time. I don't even know if Mom knows that. But, I mean, that's really cool. So, it's definitely one of my favorite movies, and either one, I would recommend watching, this one first because this is supposed to be the beginning, and then just put this one in right afterwards, and it matches up perfectly.
Do you remember one time when we were small, we were out here? It was from right over there I jumped out at you from behind the tree, and Grandpa got all excited, and he shook his fist at me, and he said, "Boy, you be damned to hell." Remember that? Right over there.
Oh, let's see what we got in the cauldron. Another one of Mom's favorites.
Another one of Mom's favorites.
Jamie Lee Curtis again. Another John Carpenter again. This one's almost a zombie movie.
They're like ghost zombies.
Yeah, ghost. Well, I guess it's more of a ghost movie, but they kind of look like zombies.
Well, they don't show them very often.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie had a super big budget as well.
No, it's another shoestring.
Yeah.
What's scary about this one is you're scared of something so simple that you see,
not all the time, but you see it a couple times a year at least.
So now whenever I look outside and see a fog, I either think of this or Silent Hill, one of those two.
I always think of either this, Silent Hill, or Pumpkinhead. I think that maybe one of the films, I think there was fog in one of the Pumpkinheads, and I remember staring at the window thinking that he was going to start coming.
I mean, what do you do when there's this fog? And the fog is coming after you. How do you get away from a fog?
Exactly.
Something as big as that.
This is one of those movies that scares you because it's something you can't see.
Yeah.
And I mean, how are you going to fight something you can't see? How are you going to fight something that you could just punch right through it? I mean, it's not a solid object.
Well, they actually show what's in the fog later on in the movie, and that's what I was talking about, those zombie-looking
right, but they don't show it for very long, though. Yeah. And then the music, of course, John Carpenter's always had really good music that goes with his movies. And that's really what gets it going to me, is that dramatic, music. Kind of starts off like slow pace, and then all of a sudden jumps, He's really good at doing that, putting the stuff together, and the music with the scenes.
So I would recommend that fog. I wouldn't recommend the remake.
I watched it once.
I couldn't get into it at all.
And it sucked. I just remember it sucked. I think they tried to do like the more teenage thing going on.
The way they did it was very cliche, and we've seen it 100 times before.
Yeah,
so watch the original.
Johnny!
You're still afraid.
Stop it now, I mean it.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
House on Haunted Hill.
Oh,
that one in there.
Yes. And I know that there
This is the remake, I have to stress that. There was actually a House on Haunted Hill with, oh my goodness, that...
Vincent Price?
Yeah, Vincent Price was in it. And I saw that movie. Actually, it's not that bad.
It's not bad.
But I do like this
one.
But
it's not one that really terrifies me.
No, it doesn't scare you.
I mean, for the time that it was made, it probably was.
Okay, let me just give you an example. They have a skeleton on a string that they're floating around, and it's going... reaching. I mean, to now that's not scary. And my favorite part in the original House on Haunted Hill, die laughing every time I see it. It looks like a granny, and she's like this, and it looks like somebody's pushing her on roller skates. And she's like sliding across the floor.
Or just something on wheels,
It's hysterical.
And she's just standing there.
Anyway,
I'm scared of that. I mean, it's creepy at best.
The original, the house wasn't really haunted. They were just making it look like it. Vincent Price was just scared.
That's right.
This one, it really is haunted.
See, it's kind of ironic because he tries to set it up to scare his wife because they literally hate each other and want each other to die, you know. But it turns out that the house is actually haunted because it used to be a mental institution.
Yeah.
And the patients got loose and then killed all the staff and was experimenting, like, just cutting up the doctors and the nurses and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's awesome, really good movie, and it's got a lot of jump moments.
Oh yeah, big time. I think my favorite part about it is actually the flashback showing what happened.
Yeah,
to make it
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning.
I love hearing the
white,
history of that place.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, it's got a good cast. It was another one of those movies where you can't really fight something that you can't see because they're ghosts.
One of my favorite
ghost movies. That is, also trying to kill you. So, yeah, it is one of my favorites, I have to say. I could watch that movie over and over. And then there was the big Vault of Blood. I mean, it was a huge Vault of Blood, remember? That, Allie Larder's character, seen Tay Digg, fall in that Vault of Blood, and then she's trying to help him, and then he's standing right next to her, and he's like, what are you doing? And then she realizes, holy crap, who am I trying to pull out of here? And he's trying to pull her in all of a sudden. There's so many moments in that movie, it's unique, and it just like, holy crap, that's scary.
Ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you.
Another vampire movie. lots of people, there's been a lot of critical different reviews.
So we're talking about 30 Days of Night right
yes.
now.
There's been a lot of mixed reviews on this. I've heard a lot of people say
this is one of your
stupid.
favorites.
I think this is one of the scariest vampire movies that I've ever seen because these vampires are different from the typical ones that you see. They've been around for a long time. And they're...
What's up with their eyes?
I don't know. They don't really look human.
Dude, the whole
they always look like that.
It's like their eyes are getting closer and closer to the center of their head. I don't get what's up with
and
their eyes.
And then they get the pointed, like, nasty teeth. With I mean, they've been around for a long time doing this.
Yeah.
And they do not feel any remorse. They don't feel any guilt. Nothing. I mean, they just go around and they slaughter this whole town of people. This small town, you know.
And
in the middle of nowhere.
They're trapped somewhere where, what was it? Antarctica or something, like somewhere where it's going to take a long time for the sun to come up, so that's why it's 30 days of night.
Called Alaska.
And that's the perfect
30 days of night.
And it's a perfect place for vampires to attack because they don't have to worry about the sunlight.
One of my favorite scenes of this movie is when these vampires first showed up, and you actually see an overhead view of the whole town, and you see all these people in the town running from these vampires, running from house to house, trying to shoot them. I mean, it's just, they look small, you know, because it's the overhead view. But I mean, you're seeing blood splattering everywhere. You're seeing these vampires attacking these humans and feeding on them, and just, I mean, it's a catastrophe. This whole town is just being slaughtered right in this overhead view, basically. And that's what I love. I know it sounds weird when I say it like that, but I love that they showed that because, I mean, they showed this total massacre, and it was just kind of cool to see that.
I'm curious now, how different is this from the book?
Well, the first book was pretty close to it, actually. It's been a long time since I read it.
Yeah.
I remember I was disappointed in the second one.
Okay.
And I was disappointed in the second movie as well. They changed Melissa George.
Jeez, I didn't even know they made a sequel.
Yeah, they made a sequel, and they changed Melissa George to a different girl. And then they put a sex scene in it for no reason. And then the vampires, all of a sudden, in this one, they're pretty much impossible to kill.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a huge, big, buff guy that's running them over with, like, this huge tractor kind of thing. And, I mean, ripping them to pieces and stuff, but, I mean, they're still not dying. Like, some of them are getting their arms torn off, and they're still coming at them. In the second one, they seemed a lot easier to kill.
I hate when they
changed it completely. It was just not the same. I know that a lot of people say that they didn't like that movie for some reason. I don't know why, because I think it's terrifying. If you were in that situation and you were hiding in somebody's attic for 30 days with no food and water, and then you can't go outside because luckily the vampires can't really smell well because it's in Alaska and they've got like these snowstorms and everything. And there's even a part where this polar bear wanders in, and the vampires slaughter that too. I mean, so easily. I mean, a polar bear, and they kill it like nothing. So, I mean, it's a terrifying movie.
Look, there comes one of them now.
He'll hear you.
Here he comes now. I'm getting out of here.
Johnny.
I think we're almost at the end here. We're getting close. We got Jeepers Creepers here.
That's another one that our mom really likes, but I actually like a lot too, because this one's very original.
I didn't think I would like this one the first time I saw it. I mean, we were like, we're gonna watch Jeepers Creepers. I'm like, what's that? But it's original. Pretty good.
Yes, the villain is.
I don't even know what he is.
I don't think they ever really explain. All they do is all they explain is that he comes for I think like certain amount of days. He feeds on people.
Right.
And then he goes away or whatever.
Hibernates for a while.
Yeah, and like when he gets injured, if he eats that part, like if his ear's missing, and if he eats somebody's ear, then it comes like pops back out. Like that's how he kind of rejuvenates. It's weird, but it's original. It's unique. And it's actually, there's humor in it too.
There's a lot of humor in it.
Yeah, the two main characters, it's funny because, I mean, they're pretty much
they're supposed to be brother and sister, right?
Brother and sister,
yeah.
And they're pretty much the only people you see in the movie. And, the first part of the movie, they're bantering back and forth, being brother and sister.
Yeah.
And you really see the chemistry between them. And you really get to like them, actually. You really start to like and enjoy
for them to live. And I I like it when there's only a handful of characters.
Yes, it makes it better because you're not paying attention to all these different people. Yeah, and then usually when there's the less characters there are, the more that you really enjoy these characters. This movie actually did one thing that I've always wanted people to do.
Oh yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
Yes, there's a part where the girl, the sister, hits him with a car. And then reverses, and then goes forward, and then reverses. Nobody ever does this in the movies.
If I had something chasing after me like that, I would run it over about 20 times.
Nobody ever thinks to do this. Why? I don't know. Why wouldn't you do that? Unfortunately, it didn't work.
Do you remember what she said when she went to go hit him
He
said something really funny.
Well, he said they're dead, or he's dead, and she's like, they're never dead, or something like that, and then she keeps doing it.
And I remember I was cheering Chelsea, and we're like, yeah, at that part.
It's the first time that we've ever seen that.
We were both thinking that. We're like, please run him over again, please.
Please, yes, because nobody ever does it, and unfortunately in this situation it didn't kill him.
No, that just goes to show this guy's like immortal.
Yeah, I mean it did
whatever he is.
injure him for quite some time, and kind of they were able to get farther away for
I think I would have set him on fire just for good measure myself.
Yeah, I don't really know if anything can kill him. This is a different kind of monster.
Right.
It's not a vampire, it's not a werewolf, we don't know what the heck it is. So, and I mean, he's pretty much unstoppable.
Yeah.
And I mean, he takes your body parts, and then he's got a basement where he like sews them all together and then sews them onto the wall.
That scene when they show that too.
It's scary. It's creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely gets your heart going. I mean, he's one of those characters you don't really know what he's gonna do. It's unexpected.
Unpredictable.
But he also has a sense of humor too, because he's got his license plate. They were debating about license plates because they were trying to figure out what it was saying, but I believe it said "I'll be eating you."
Yeah.
Because the brother thought it says "I'm beating you" or something like that.
Right. At the beginning of the movie, that's how they introduce the characters. Just them playing games.
Even
with
the monster has a
license
sense of humor.
Yeah.
And in the second one, actually, the monster, there's a part with all the kids on the school bus, and he's looking at each kid through the window.
Yeah.
And he's doing like pointing at the ones that he really, that he likes or whatever, where he's kind of like move over the side, or he winks at one of them, like he's got kind of a sense of humor. He's almost cute at that scene. I know. Well, he smiles. He has this big smile on his face where he's actually like showing his teeth, and he's like his eyes are closed, and he looks kind of cute. So, and then the rest of it, you're like, never mind. No, not anymore. So,
well, Chelsea, for our last movie, we're gonna take a break before we start it.
All right, sounds good.
It's kind of a big one, I think. So
yes, it is. And if you can't tell by the toys that we have out here which one it is, you'll figure it out.
All right, we'll be back in a bit.
John!
And welcome back. We're going to finish off our Halloween extravaganza today with the alien quadrilogy. Quadrilogy.
I know that this is a sci-fi, more of a sci-fi movie, but it is a sci-fi horror. And
especially the first one.
I think that this is the best alien I have ever seen. I mean, the H.R. Geiger was the artist for the alien. And I mean, I don't even know how he came up with this. It's the scariest thing I've ever seen. I know that I'd probably die from a heart attack.
I actually heard that he paints what he sees in his dreams.
I thought I'd heard that from somewhere too.
Yeah.
But what kind of dreams is he having?
Really
I don't know.
Horrifying.
I do know that they
Species one too, and that was pretty scary.
Did he? I just thought that this was one of the coolest movies I've ever seen, especially if it's
talking about
time.
the first one, Alien.
We were talking about the first one, although I do prefer the second one.
Yeah.
Because I've always been a big fan of having soldiers in the mix.
Right.
Because it's I don't know, like especially with an enemy like this, at least they have a better chance because they have the training, they have the weapons, they have the attitude. I mean, I've always loved that, especially like Predator. That's another one I really love because they've got the soldiers in there fighting. So the second one is my favorite.
The first one was really good characters too, even though they weren't soldiers.
Yes.
And the interaction.
Yeah,
you can tell there's certain ones that didn't get along, just like it would happen in real life.
I almost knocked her over. That's why we were sitting here like this, like my little pets.
That's adorable.
Yes, I know. She wouldn't sit. I really love how they made a strong female character for this. Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, which originally they had Ripley cast as a male. They were going to have a male protagonist. So I don't know exactly why they decided to go just what, you know, they like Sigourney Weaver, so I guess they kind of decided to put her in the mix and try it out, and she did a really good job.
Yeah.
I think what happened is she read the script. She read the last part where she's doing the talking, like talking to herself kind of thing, going over what happened, and they liked it. They liked the way that it sounded, so they went with her. So, yeah, I really like that. I like the strong female character in it. And I love how this one's only got one alien running amok on this ship.
And that's another thing. We were talking about the close quarters. Once again, we got close quarters. You have absolutely nowhere you can go. You're out in space.
Yep. You've got the dark, dank environment. They didn't show the alien as too much.
Yeah.
But, I mean, sometimes it's more scary that way. If you overshow something, it takes the effect away from it, I feel.
That's another one of those examples right there.
Plus, I guess they didn't want to show, like, the front, like, the facial area too much because it was modeled after a human skull, I believe. So they thought it was kind of, at times, looked too much like humanoid-ish.
Right.
So they didn't want to show too much of the facial area, which I don't remember ever thinking that it looked
I never
humanoid-ish.
thought that either. And they showed the alien at the end of the movie. And
yeah, but a little bit longer.
yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I really liked how this went. I really liked the effect on the movie. It did take a while to get into because they were developing the story, they were developing the characters. So it took a while till we even got to the alien and then the eggs.
But at that point, you cared about the characters, and I gotta say
Most of them.
most of them. The chest burster scene. I know she wasn't expecting that. I forgot the actress's name.
They knew what was going to happen. I don't remember what her name was. She actually originally thought she was auditioning for Ripley, but they had decided her part, the other girl. But yeah, they were told about the scene. They were told what was going to happen, but they weren't told the details of it. So when the blood splatters everywhere, that was really unexpected, and that was her real reaction to it because she got most of the blood on her. She got it right in her face too, and a little screeching noise of a little thing, chest burster thing. Little thing. Actually, it's a guy who's doing that little, he's like an animal impersonator, and he did the little screeching noise for it. I don't know if they touched it up a little bit because it doesn't sound.
What kind of animal is it supposed to be?
I don't know, but I mean, they just asked him to come up with something, and he did, and they stuck with it. A lot of the dialogue for this movie was improvised. I don't know what part specifically, but that's really interesting. I mean,
in the first Alien?
In the first Alien, yes.
I wasn't sure if you were going to the second one now.
Jonesy, the cat. It's Jonesy, right? Jones.
Yeah, I do remember
Jonesy. You know the part where that guy, one of the mechanic guys, is looking for the cat, and then the alien comes down behind him, and then you see the cat, hissing at him, like huddling up in the corner.
Was the cat really spazzing out?
What they did was they had a dog on standby, a German Shepherd, and they had the dog behind like a sheet kind of thing or a screen so that the cat couldn't see the dog. And then when they needed the reaction, they lifted the screen up slowly, and that was the reaction they got out of the cat, was hissing and huddling in the corner. And that's what they used for the reaction towards the alien. They had 3 different aliens, models / suits, I guess you could say. One was for a stunt person, one was for a person that was like 7 feet tall, like that, and then like a model, a large model or whatever of the alien. So that was kind of interesting how they, depending on how much movement they needed for it, they had the different people or the model for it.
The saliva from the aliens, the stuff that they used was so strong, it was like tearing up the acrylic paint. They had to keep painting the alien over and over again.
They had to keep redoing it all the time because, what
did they use for that saliva?
I don't know, but I mean, I noticed that in this one more so than the other ones, there's a lot more sliminess to it. For some reason, a lot of people decide that with monsters, making it really slimy and like dripping and oozing kind of makes it more scary sometimes, so they kind of went with that one for the first one.
That's for sure.
I guess the egg's a little, when it opens up, I guess it was the mechanism for opening that was so strong that it could rip a hand off. So, that was kind of amazing. Like, wow, don't get near that. There's just a lot of interesting things about this.
That movie taught you if you see an egg that's about ready to open or something suspicious that looks like an egg, don't stick your face in it.
Don't stick it. Well, I mean, you'd think that somebody would know that.
Important lessons to learn from that movie.
Right, yeah, like, that's just common sense, though. But people do it. I just really like this movie, and I think this was a good one to end with because there's just so much to it. And then the second one was such a good movie, too. And the third one was my least favorite, honestly. And then they did Resurrection. And Resurrection, I didn't think that was a bad one. There was a lot of bad reviews on that one, but I kind of
a lot of people don't seem to like it. But I enjoy it as an action movie. I enjoy it that way. I thought it was kind of neat that they brought back Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, it's just not the same without her. It's not the same without her, though. I mean, and she still had, I think, a lot of the memories and stuff that she did when she was Ripley. So, I mean, she wasn't that much different.
She was part alien.
Right.
You get all emotional at the end of the movie. Alien human hybrid.
He was ugly as sin, but there was a brief moment at the ending where he had this look of betrayal on his face. This was the baby, so he's more humanoid, like more part humanoid, part alien. And she's got the acid blood too, and she throws it on the window so that it'll suck him out before he kills everybody. And he has this look on his face, like the little beady eyes. He looks like he's crying almost, and I actually felt really bad for him. And then, like, he's being sucked out of the window, and he's screaming and crying, and it's like, oh, like, that's kind of sad, For that split moment, I did really feel bad for him, actually.
Compassionate for animals and aliens.
And aliens.
Not for humans at all, though.
So it depends on if I like them or not. They decided to do the acid for blood because when they were talking, they were just discussing about it, and they were like, well, how come they just don't shoot the alien and kill it, So they needed a way, like, something to prevent them from just being able to shoot it, because if they shoot it, then it's going to spray the blood, and then their blood's acid, so it's going to melt right through you or through the ship. So, I mean, they had to be really careful about it. And that's why they decided to do that. Yeah, because you can't really get close to the alien, and you can't really, like, stab it. I mean, if it's right on top of you and you stab it, you're going to get acid in your face or something. Like, I mean, there's just so many negative things about this. It doesn't look like you have much hope when you're against one of these things. I'm glad that we put this one kind of on the top of our list because we grew up with this one. This came out way before, us, even when I was born. And it's scary as hell, though. And I mean, this is the best creature design that I've ever really seen.
Even after all these years, I still really like this creature design.
And now that I'm older,
to Predator, I really like Predator too.
And now that I'm older, even though the first movie especially kind of drags on a little bit for a little bit, I like to watch it actually. I'm into it more because I'm older and I understand what's going on more. And it's just a really cool movie. What you think? Tell us what movies you like, what you think is better, what scared you when you were little. We'd be really interested in that.
Love to hear it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Access Vision, your voice, your community.